My name is Heather Gerry. I have 6 years clean as of February 28th of this year. I am a substance abuse counselor in the IOP department. About 15 years of substance use. It started with alcohol. One thing led to another, and at the end of my road, it was a needle in my neck. There was a lot of being bullied in high school and me always searching on the outside for everything to fill this emptiness I felt, and nothing worked. I searched it in boys and men, in drugs, alcohol, toxic friendships, toxic relationships, and nothing ever permanently filled that void. It was a never-ending cycle. By the end of the road, I had experienced over 20 overdoses. I drowned in a bathtub. My now husband had revived me countless times with Narcan, pulling me out of the bathtub, doing CPR. And then the next day, my husband's family had what I now know is an intervention on me. And they said, "We're afraid if you don't go into treatment today, you are going to die." So I called treatment centers, and as soon as I could get in was the next day. And that was the beginning of what I didn't know was going to be the rest of my life. I went to treatment, and while I was in treatment, I got the most spiritual counselor there is. He had asked me, he's like, "Well, what's your plans for after treatment?" And I said, "Well, I'm just going to go home." Until I called home and realized I had no home to go to. So I sat back down in his office and we discussed places. One of the places we talked about was Evolve. But at some point while I was in there, something clicked. And I said, I can't do this anymore. I gotta change. Evolve gave me my experience of my first convention. And it was one of the best experiences I've ever had. And it really showed me that there really is a different way to live. At some point, it finally clicked that I want something different. I want to do more. I want to be more. I want to make better for myself, better for my children. And Evolve planted that seed for me. That's where I built my whole network. So on that trip to Ocean City for my first convention, we were obviously transported by Evolve. That made me think at some point in time, I was like, I could do that. I could drive a van. I could just be a driver. And that's kind of when that seed was planted. I just kept working towards it. And I think it was about a year clean. I got a position somewhere else. But then about 2 months later, I was offered a position as a tech. I can say for sure Evolve has always felt like home. With employment, with living, with everything. I can tell you when I was using, and when I would go to the hospital or whatever, the looks and the judgment that you would get from people who haven't lived this path, embarrassing, hurtful, especially some words people say to you. But when I came to Evolve as a client, I didn't feel judged by the staff. I didn't feel less than. I felt like I was important, that I mattered. I never felt like I belonged anywhere. I don't know if that stems from the whole family drama or the bullying or whatever, but I felt like I belonged here at Evolve. I truly did. But I think it's important to touch on when I left. I wanted to do other things. So I felt like going somewhere else would fulfill that. And at this time, I had already been in school for substance abuse counseling. I wasn't a counselor yet. So I went to work for a different company. I wasn't happy. Went to work somewhere else. Wasn't happy. And And then I went to work back for the place that I quit before that one. Again, I wasn't happy. And so I finally was like, you know what? And at this point I was a counselor. I had gotten my ADT, and I was like, you know what? I want to try to go back to Evolve. Since I've been in recovery, I've gained full custody of my kids, who I adore, who are my life. I've gotten married. But I think the best thing that I've gained from everything is the love, the trust, and the peace of mind from everybody else. I've really built a life for my little family, and it's a life I wouldn't change for nothing. A lot of times when I look at certain clients, I see myself. I see someone who's broken. I see someone who's desperately reaching for help. I see someone who doesn't know where to turn. And I see someone who is putting in effort after effort after effort and really changing their life. And what I try to offer to clients is my experience. So when it's appropriate, I will share my experiences with clients, and where that got me, and give them suggestions as to what not to do or what to do. And I think that's why it's very important and a key part when you have recovering addicts working as substance abuse counselors, or even as techs, or whatever position they hold, is that we are all the same. And I tell my clients that all the time. I'm just one decision away from sitting where you're sitting. I'm one bad decision away. I'm no better than you, but I can show you how to live a life that you want. But you have to take these suggestions, and you have to follow this path, and it's up to the clients.
What would be one of the most valuable lessons you've learned through this journey?
Be honest. Be honest with yourself. Be honest with everybody else. I had to learn to change. And I think that's also a very important lesson I learned from Evolve, is change. I was extremely selfish, extremely manipulative, a liar, deceitful, everything you can imagine. But Evolve truly showed me how I can change to be a better person for not only myself, but for my family. And I think that's what's very important. Because I have clients asking me sometimes, is there anything you regret in your life? No, there's not. And yes, I've made some horrible decisions. I've hurt people. I've lied to people, manipulated people. I've done all these things that can be unimaginable. But at the end of the day, every experience that I've lived has pointed me into this direction. And that is why I'm living the life I'm living now. And that is why I'm helping other people, because I went through those experiences. So yeah, I went through some horrible stuff. I went through some trauma, but that's not my fault. And now I know that. But I don't regret anything, because now I can help other people.